Welcome to Bedtime SFK, where sweet dreams begin.
All right, today we're tackling a big one. We're going to deconstruct one of the most influential political texts ever published, Mao Zedong's Quotations, which you probably know as the Little Red Book. I mean, its impact shaped a nation and sent ripples all across the globe. So let's just dive right in. And boom, right out of the gate, you get this incredibly stark, uncompromising tone. I mean, there's no mincing words here. This is not about a dinner party, it's not about gentle persuasion or some kind of gradual reform. No. Revolution is framed as a fundamental, forceful, and, violent act. This one quote really captures the entire essence of the worldview we're about to unpack. So, the big question is, how does this book justify such a radical approach? Well, it's not just a random collection of slogans. It actually presents itself as a complete, self-contained blueprint for changing society. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through that blueprint together, step by step, and really see how it builds its case. How it sees the world, who the key players are, and what its ultimate goal really is. Okay, so first things first, the entire structure of this book, and I mean everything in it, is built on one single foundational idea. It's a very specific way of seeing history. You can think of it as the lens through which everything else has to be understood, and that lens is this. The world is a constant, unavoidable struggle. Now, this lens has a name. It's called historical materialism. And the core idea is pretty simple, really. It says that history isn't about great leaders or big ideas or, national destinies. Nope. It's all about economics, and specifically the relentless conflict between different social classes. And get this. This struggle isn't seen as a bug in the system. According to this worldview, the struggle is the system. It's the very engine that pushes history forward. And what's really fascinating here is just how total this worldview is. It basically claims you can't opt out. There's no sitting on the sidelines. Every single thought you have, every action you take, is fundamentally shaped by your class identity. There's just no neutral ground. Your entire perspective, according to this, is stamped with the brand of your class. So, if struggle is inevitable, what does that mean? It means passivity is just not an option. And the book uses this really memorable analogy for it. It says, opponents of the revolution are like dust, right? They're not just going to disappear if you ignore them. You have to actively take up a broom and sweep them away. So action isn't just a good idea, it's presented as an absolute historical necessity. Okay, so if the world is this giant battlefield of class struggle, who leads the charge? Well, the text gives a very, very clear answer. There is one single, indispensable organization that has to be at the very heart of the whole project. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. The force at the core, the one leading the cause forward, is the Chinese Communist Party. It's positioned as the absolute center, the core that gives leadership, direction, all the theoretical guidance. And it's not just a revolutionary group, it's presented as the essential leading force. Without it, the whole thing fails. So what are the tools for this struggle? What are the weapons, so to speak? Well, the book lays out three main ones, and you're going to see a very clear pattern here. First, a well-disciplined party. Second, an army, but, and this is crucial, it's an army under the leadership of the party. And third, a united front of all the revolutionary classes, you guessed it, led by the party. See the pattern? In every single case, all power, all control flows from that central core. All right, so we've got the worldview, it's all about struggle. And we've got the core leader, that's the party. So the next part of the blueprint is the strategy. How do you actually navigate this world? I mean, how do you know who to fight and who to work with? And this is presented as the single most important question of all. The book argues that this is the one question that all previous revolutions in China failed to answer correctly, and that's why they collapsed. Everything, literally everything, depends on this one judgment, figuring out who your friends are and who your enemies are. You get that wrong, and the whole project is doomed from the start. So the solution offered is this key concept. You have to understand that not all conflicts are the same. The text divides all of society's problems into two types of contradictions. First, you've got the contradictions between us and the enemy. These are called antagonistic. Think of it as a fight to the death. But then, you have contradictions among the people themselves. And these are non-antagonistic. They're more like a family disagreement, something that can be talked through and resolved. So how are those lines actually drawn? Well, and this is a really important point, it's not about your ethnicity or your nationality, It's purely ideological. The people are defined simply as all the classes and groups who support the cause of building socialism, and the enemy, that's anyone who resists it. It's a really simple, really powerful binary, and those lines can actually shift depending on the needs of the struggle. And this is the crucial part, because you use completely different methods for each group. Towards the enemy, you use the method of dictatorship, right? They are compelled, they are forced to obey. But towards the people, your friends, you use the method of democracy. They're educated, they're persuaded, not forced. This framework is what allows for both extreme harshness towards one group and what looks like a cooperative approach towards another, all inside the same system. And really, it all boils down to this incredibly simple, stark rule for action. Support whatever the enemy opposes, and oppose whatever the enemy supports. That's it. It's like a strategic compass that always points you in the right direction. In a complicated world defined by struggle, this gives you a super clear, unambiguous guide for what to do in pretty much any situation. Okay, so let's recap. We have the worldview, struggle. We have the leader, the party. And we have the strategy, divide friends from enemies. But what is it all for? What's the ultimate goal of this entire revolutionary blueprint? Well, the text paints a picture of a brand new society. First off, there's this absolute conviction that the old world is just doomed. The system of capitalism isn't just seen as flawed, it's portrayed as historically obsolete. The book describes it as a dying person, sinking fast, like the sun setting in the west. It's something that's inevitably heading for the Museum of History. And this belief, this certainty in its collapse, is a core idea that really fuels the whole revolutionary drive. And the state that's meant to replace it is called the People's Democratic Dictatorship. And notice those two sides of the coin again, right? Democratic for the people, and dictatorship for the enemy. And this new state has two main jobs. Function 1 is to suppress the reactionary classes inside the country, and Function 2 is to protect the country from any external enemies and aggression. And this, right here, is the ultimate aim. The whole thing. The struggle, the party's leadership, dividing friends from enemies, it all serves this one single purpose: to bring about a socialist and communist society. A society that's described as the most progressive, revolutionary, and rational system in human history. This is the promised land that makes the entire revolutionary journey worthwhile. Alright, this brings us to the final, and maybe the most controversial, element of the blueprint. If revolution is a forceful act to build this new society, well, what is the ultimate instrument of that force? Well, the book starts by quoting the famous military strategist Clausewitz to make a really crucial point, and that is, war isn't something separate from politics. It's a continuation of politics by other means. Basically, when your political goals can't be achieved through normal methods, war becomes the tool you use to break through. And this leads to what is, without a doubt, the most famous line from the entire book. Every communist, it says, must grasp the truth. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. I mean, it doesn't get more direct or blunt than that. This philosophy says state power isn't something that's granted or debated into existence. It's seized and it's held through armed force. And this right here reveals the central paradox at the very heart of this view on violence. You see, the stated goal is a world of peace, a world without war. But the book argues the only way to abolish war is through war. The only way to achieve that future peace is by waging revolutionary war right now. To get rid of the gun for good, you first have to pick one up. So, there you have it. What we've just walked through is a complete, self-contained system. It starts with a world defined by struggle. It puts the party forward as the one and only guide. It gives you a clear method for telling friends from enemies, and it all points toward a utopian future, a future that's achieved through armed force. It's a blueprint that offers clear-cut answers and leaves absolutely no room for doubt. And that, I think, raises a final, really important question for us to think about. What is the enduring power, the enduring appeal, of such an uncompromising vision that offers so much certainty, even at such an enormous cost?